What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a concert review of Clipse's Let God Sort 'Em Out tour. This is Clipse's first tour in 15 years, of course, in support of their recent album, Let God Sort 'Em Out, which is one of, if not the best rap album of this year, an album I love. I have seen Pusha T as a soloist live 3 times. I was lucky enough to see his very first performance at Governor's Ball after he released The Story of Adidon back in 2018. He did not perform that song that day. However, he did perform some diss songs on the Let God Sort 'Em Out tour. We'll get into that. But of course, I was incredibly excited to get an opportunity to see Clipse because they haven't performed at length for a really long time. Now, there's been some live performances in and around this album, and of course, some stuff here and there in the last few years once they kind of came back together on Use This Gospel, the Kanye song from a few years back. So this isn't like completely out of the blue at this point, but really it felt like to me a celebration of Clipse as an iconic rap duo and a huge admiration for Let God Sort 'Em Out, the album. Crowd I was there with at Roadrunner in Boston the first night of this tour, lucky enough. This crowd was raucous. This crowd was so happy to be there. They knew every word. They knew every word of the old songs, of course. They played many classics to their name. You can probably guess what those songs are. We'll get into them. But people also knew all the words to the stuff that just came out on the new songs. I mean, the first track, they come right out to Chains and Whips, and people are, jumping out of their shoes to spit these bars back at Pusha T and Malice. And every handful of songs, the crowd would just kind of burst out into cheers, tons of admiration and applause. And you could tell, like, Clipse was just kind of up there, like, taking it in. A lot of nodding from Push, that nod that he does. Malice, some more reserved guy. They didn't really say too much throughout the whole show. Not a whole lot of crowd work. They really just kind of got into it. It was about 70-minute long set, and they did a ton of tracks. Visually, I also thought it was pretty interesting. You had the large video walls behind them, as you'd expect, but the stuff they put up on there during MTB TTF, they had kind of like clips, like archival footage going through, and a lot of it's cocaine adjacent imagery, a lot of stuff of Pusha T and Malice as younger men during their more illicit time in life before they became famous. Of course, the subject matter, but also like there was like clips of Mike Tyson, of course, the line from the song, Mike Tyson blow to the face. There was a lot of OJ clips during So Be It, both him putting on the gloves at the trial and also the white Bronco chase. The final song of the set before the encore was The Birds Don't Sing off the new album, which is a more gospel-y type song from Clipse, and it was a ton of video footage of the Clipse, their family, and a lot of shots of the brothers with their dad as he aged, and it was a really nice compliment, honestly, to that song as they performed it, and like you could tell the crowd was definitely taking it in. But yeah, I mean, unsurprisingly, these guys are great live. They're probably the greatest example we have right now of rap's increasing age, right? We haven't had, a number one rap album from rappers this old before, but rap is, increasingly growing as a genre in terms of its time as a mainstream form of music, right? And now you look ahead, and back in the day, a 40-year-old rapper was pretty rare, right? A 40-year-old rapper people still listen to. But now you have Pusha T at 48, Malice in his 50s, and they sound as good as ever. Now, this was the first night of tour. There was some hiccups. Pusha's mic pack fell off like 3 or 4 times. He had to just stand there and have it get, rehooked up to like his belt or whatever. That was funny. Also, there was a few times where Push had to like back out and like leave a bar out. I think he was perhaps a little out of breath, had to get his stamina back. That'll improve. But they make the kind of music that's just so ripe for live performance, right? Because it's so technical. It's all wordplay and lyrics, right? So it really comes through. Unsurprisingly, the crowd was pretty diverse, not just in terms of race, but also in terms of age, given the age of the group here. But there was a lot of young people too, which I think speaks to just how this album has resonated this year as pretty clearly the signature rap album, of the year, and for me, the album of the year thus far. In terms of classics that they did, you had Popular Demand, What Happened to That Boy, the Birdman song, Keys Open Doors, Mr. Me Too, Grindin', which comes actually kind of earlier in the set list than you would have expected, right? That was a song that obviously back in the day they would have ended sets with. They didn't do that this time around. I was theorizing that they may start the set with Ace Trumpets, but it ended up being the second to last song. And I gotta say, I think of all the new stuff, Ace Trumpets, people lost their shit to. From the first line, Yellow Diamonds Look Like PP, people were hyped. So Be It also ripped live, right? Like, I think that's a song where like people love the Push verse and people really love the Malice verse. It split between the chorus. You had the smoke machine going off as Push says smoke. Like, that really worked. I think people really like hit critical mass during Malice's verse there. That like sitar, whatever that sound is on the So Be It beat, really sounds great in a live setting. Also, at the end of So Be It, Pusha T did perform the final verse, which of course is the much talked about Travis Scott diss. He did perform that live in full, and the crowd was happy to yell it back at him. Also, during Ace Trumpets, he does do the Kanye line, Still Waiting on Yeezy, Better Get Your Squeegees. He does do that too. I thought that was notable, right? Because he hasn't always performed diss songs, whether they're, big or small diss songs, right? Uppercase, lowercase. He hasn't always done that. The main set ends with Ace Trumpets and the Birds Don't Sing, as I said. Then they come out for the encore, and it's Cot Damn, of course, a classic of theirs, and then So Far Ahead to finally end it from the album. So I think in terms of songs they did that are new, they did Chains and Whips, POV, MTB, TTF, FICO, So Be It, Ace Trumpets, The Birds Don't Sing, and So Far Ahead. So they did a lot of the album, most of the album. So yeah, needless to say, really loved the set. My fourth time seeing Pusha. He always brings it. Malice back like he never left, as we heard on the album. It was great, but it was really the crowd that stood out to me. Like, it was a really great atmosphere, really real sense of admiration to people that really wanted to be there. I feel like that's the best kind of thing, right? Unsurprisingly, very male focused crowd, probably like 80-20 ratio, not coke rap. What do you expect? That was kind of funny, I guess. But yeah, loved it. Roadrunner, amazing venue in Boston, big fan of it. This is the first night of the tour. I'm sure they might switch up that set list at least a little bit from here to there, maybe bring out a guest depending on where they are. We'll see. But let me know when you catch that show. What did you think of it? What did you like most about it? What was your favorite song they performed live? Let me know. And for more music reviews, more rap reviews, more concert reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.